While the Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to dominate the worldwide box office, there are plenty of other Marvel movies on the horizon, from Sony Pictures and Disney's acquired subsidiary 20th Century Fox, that have release dates set in between future MCU films. With Black Widow having kickstarted the return of the MCU movies in 2021, there are a lot of previously delayed films to look forward to in 2021 and early 2022. Beyond that, there are even more spin-offs, reboots, and many more sequels planned and scheduled for the not-too-distant future. Despite Disney facing streaming controversies, Marvel has already had a strong year with the successful launch of their new Disney Plus TV shows, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down. While some have voiced fears in the past that the superhero genre might be a passing fad, Hollywood has continued to embrace it and received largely positive critical reception and huge box office returns. Producers are not going to be quick to forget Avengers Endgame's record-breaking $1.2 billion opening weekend and will be eager to repeat that performance in a post-pandemic future. DC has been attempting to emulate the MCU model with limited success, but now Sony Pictures are dusting off some old Marvel properties to try their hand at their own extended universe. Studios have become substantially more confident in the genre following the massive success of franchises like the Avengers and X-Men. As a result, we're now in the midst of seeing studios take bigger, and necessary, risks. They're adapting standalone properties, offering lead roles to women and people of color. They're confidently choosing directors with distinct trademark styles. And, all the while, they're also offering them more creative control. See Thor Ragnarok. The cinematic superhero genre is constantly evolving, and this upcoming slate is just a taste of things to come. Promising to bring hardcore martial arts action into the MCU, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is a priority for Marvel in Phase 4. The movie is based on comics about the son of Fu Manchu, who has his eyes opened to his father's wickedness and decides to become a superhero instead, fighting for those who need him instead of the father who would command him. Shang-Chi will be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and hit theaters in September 2021. Simu Liu stars as the MCU's first Asian superhero. Rather than using the extremely problematic Fu Manchu as Shang-Chi's mystically empowered father, the movie will be replacing him with Tony Leung's portrayal of the Mandarin, not to be confused with Trevor Slattery, who posed as a figure called the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. The trailers for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings have revealed that Tim Roth will be reprising his role from 2008's The Incredible Hulk as Emil Blonsky, Abomination. Additionally, the cast will include Awkwafina, Michelle Yeoh, Florian Munteanu, and Meng-Er Zhang. In late 2021, Marvel Studios introduces Eternals to the MCU, in a film that sees Nomadland's Chloe Zhao in the director's chair. Written by Zhao and Patrick Burley, Eternal's story will cover over 7,000 years of time while chronicling the lives of the titular immortal alien race. It'll also presumably become the launchpad for a more cosmic MCU in Phase 4 and beyond. Gemma Chan leads the cast as Cersei. She'll be joined by Angelina Jolie as Thena, Richard Madden as Akaris, a newly buff Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo, Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos, Leah McHugh as Sprite, Lauren Riddoff as Makari, Don Lee as Gilgamesh, and Salma Hayek as Ajak. The film will also feature Kit Harington as Dane Whitman, a.k.a. Black Knight, and Barry Keoghan as the villainous Eternal named Druig. Officially titled Spider-Man: No Way Home, the third MCU solo Spidey film will release in December 2021. Director John Watts and writing duo Chris McKenna and Eric Summers are returning on the creative end, while Tom Holland reprises the title role. Picking up where Spider-Man: Far From Home's wild post-credits left off, the film was already expected to be an intense affair. As if that wasn't enough, the installment will tie into the multiversal drama running throughout Phase 4, with Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, working to try and help Peter by casting a spell to make everyone forget his secret identity. After the events of Loki, doing so appears to cause a fracture in the multiverse, allowing for hijinks to ensue and setting up Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Alfred Molina's version of Dr. Octopus, Jamie Foxx's iteration of Electro, and Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin are all confirmed to be reprising their previously non-MCU Spider-Man roles. It is also heavily rumored that both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and several other characters will make appearances. Related. Spider-Man: No Way Home trailer breakdown 34 reveals and secrets another property most casual viewers may not have realized belonged to Marvel Comics as the Kingsman franchise. Originally created by Mark Millar, it was released as part of the Icon Comics imprint. The Kingsman is a period prequel set within that same world, and once again directed by Matthew Vaughn. Ralph Fiennes stars as the Duke of Oxford, while Harris Dickinson plays his protégé, Conrad. Their early version of the Secret Service must stop Rasputin and his evil alliance from causing a war that kills millions. The Kingsman was originally scheduled to be released in 2019, but was later delayed to February 2020, and then September 2020, before settling on December 2021. Though many doubted it, and reviewers panned it, the Tom Hardy-led Venom proved to be an unstoppable juggernaut, grossing $855 million at the worldwide box office and more than securing a sequel. Venom: Let There Be Carnage will see writer Kelly Marcel returning to pen the script. With director Ruben Fleischer too busy with Zombieland 2 to come back for the sequel, duties passed to mocap legend Andy Serkis. The Venom sequel will see the proper introduction of popular villain Cletus Kasady. K.A. Carnage, Woody Harrelson. Stephen Graham and Naomi Harris also feature as Patrick Mulligan and Francis Barrisana. K.A. Shriek, respectively. They join returning cast Michelle Williams as Anne Weying, Reed Scott as Dan Lewis, and Peggy Lou as Mrs. Chen. Venom: Let There Be Carnage has seen multiple delays. While it was originally scheduled to release in September of 2021, it was pushed back to October, before being pushed back to January 2022 shortly afterward. The fact that Sony pushed the movie back to 1 week before the release of their next film, Morbius, and not any further lends credence to the idea that the two are more deeply connected than may appear and that Tom Hardy might have a cameo in the Jared Leto-led movie. After reprising his role as the Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League, Jared Leto is returning to the world of comic books in a role that should offer him a bit more screen time. Sony's Morbius movie has finished filming and, after several delays, will drop at the start of the new year. Leto plays Michael Morbius, a doctor who tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease but instead imbues himself with vampire-like traits, including a lust for human blood. Morbius is directed by Daniel Espinosa and will also star Doctor Who alum Matt Smith as the villainous Loxias Crown. The rest of the cast is rounded out by Adria Arjona, Jared Harris, Tyrese Gibson, and Michael Keaton seemingly reprising Adrian Toomes, a K.A. Vulture, from previous MCU outings. Related. How Morbius fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline and Phase 4. Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal of Doctor Strange in Avengers: Infinity War earned him widespread acclaim, which is partly why Marvel Studios finally moved forward with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. With Sam Raimi signed on to direct from a script by Jade Bartlett and Loki's Michael Waldron, Doctor Strange's second solo adventure won't see him entirely alone. Wanda Maximoff, K.A. Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen, will play a large role in the story, the bulk of which is still being kept under wraps. Benedict Wong, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Rachel McAdams will return, as Wong, Baron Mordo, and Christine Palmer, respectively. They'll be joined by MCU newcomer Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. The story will presumably be heavily influenced by the events of WandaVision, Loki, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. With Thor: Love and Thunder, the Asgardian warrior becomes the first MCU hero to get a fourth solo movie. Thor: Ragnarok's Taika Waititi returns to write, alongside Jennifer Katine Robinson, and direct the proceedings. Love and Thunder will mark the return of Natalie Portman's Jane Foster to the MCU. Jane will become a female version of Thor, while new Asgardian King Valkyrie, Tessa Thompson, will be on the hunt for her queen. With several other familiar faces set to flit in and out of the story: Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale, will serve as the central source of conflict. Ryan Coogler's Black Panther quickly became one of the biggest movies of all time, and while its international gross wasn't on the same level as Avengers: Infinity War, which no one expected it would be, there's no denying that it was an astounding success, critically and commercially, for Marvel Studios. So, it's no wonder that Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is set to happen, with Coogler back in the director's chair. After Chadwick Boseman's tragic passing, there are no plans to recast the role, and the production team has confirmed that they will not be using CGI to add Boseman's likeness to the movie. His last outing as the character will remain in What If?, which he recorded his parts for before his death. Instead, the sequel is set to focus on other aspects of Wakanda, its people, and its culture. As usual, story details are scarce this far out from its summer 2022 release. However, Namor the Submariner will reportedly join the MCU in the Black Panther sequel. In addition to developing the story, it took several years to create the animation style that's seen in Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse, which released in December 2018 and quickly became one of the most beloved superhero movies ever released. Shortly before Into the Spider-Verse hit theaters, Sony Pictures confirmed plans to produce a sequel. While story details are scarce, Into the Spider-Verse set up 2 sequels that allow for Miles Morales' story to branch off in multiple directions. Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse 2 has officially webbed up a 2022 release date and will include the addition of Japanese Spider-Man. Related, Sony's 3 Spider-Man movie universes explained. While not a hit quite as big as the likes of Avengers: Endgame, Captain Marvel's first adventure was still a massive success. As such, it's no surprise that Brie Larson's Carol Danvers is set to return for a sequel towards the end of 2022. As usual for Marvel, almost nothing is known about Captain Marvel 2's plot this far out from release. It will, however, take place in the modern day. Equally, now officially retitled as The Marvels, the sequel will see Carol join forces with a now grown-up Monica Rambeau, Tiona Paris, and Kamala Khan, Iman Vellani. The latter will make her debut in The Miz. Marvel Disney Plus series, and together they will square off with Zawe Ashton's mystery villain. Nia DaCosta has signed on to direct, with WandaVision's Megan McDonnell officially penning the script. Following in the footsteps of Venom and Morbius, the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters will continue with Craven the Hunter. The idea for the solo movie was first broached in 2018. By 2020, it had a script written by Richard Wenk, and then rewritten by Art Markham and Matt Holloway. Soon after, J.C. Chander entered talks to direct the film. However, it's worth note that little was heard about potential developments in the months that followed. Production took a huge leap forward in May 2021, however, when Aaron Taylor Johnson landed Craven's titular role. Set for an early 2023 release, the move sparked endless questions about the film's potential place in MCU's multiverse, given his previous turn as Pietro Maximoff, a.k.a. Quicksilver. Following on from Ant-Man and the Wasp, Scott Lang, Paul Rudd, and Hope Van Dyne, Evangeline Lilly, were confirmed for a third outing. The duo will once again be joined by Michael Douglas's Hank Pym and Michelle Pfeiffer's Janet Van Dyne. Despite being played by Emma Fuhrmann in Avengers: Endgame, the character of Cassie Lang will be assumed by Kathryn Newton. With an early 2023 release date confirmed, filming has already begun in England. Peyton Reed once again took on directorial duties, working from a script penned by Rick and Morty's Jeff Loveness. The shrinking superheroes will face their biggest challenge yet, with the iconic Marvel villain Kong the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, making his MCU debut. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 has already had a rocky road to production, with director James Gunn being fired by Disney after offensive jokes he made on Twitter years earlier resurfaced. After both fans and colleagues came out fiercely in support of Gunn, the decision was ultimately made to rehire him, though not before he'd already been snapped up by Warner Brothers. To direct The Suicide Squad, Gunn moved swiftly from that to a Peacemaker TV spin-off centered on John Cena's titular character. As a result, Guardians of the Galaxy Vol. 3 reportedly won't start filming until 2021's final months, at the earliest. Therefore, it'll be a while before we see the team back in action and any story details are revealed. However, the full cast are confirmed to be returning, following on from cameo appearances in Thor: Love and Thunder. Related. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 already revealed who its real hero is. Marvel Studios currently lists 2 MCU release dates with no movie attached to them: July 28, 2023 and November 3, 2023. Conveniently enough, they also have 2 films in development that seem primed to take those slots, and they are just holding off on confirming which will fit which slot until production is further along. One of those planned films is Blade. With a script written by Stacey Osei Kuffour and Oscar winner Mahershala Ali attached to play the vampire-slaying titular hero, the MCU has already dropped hints in Loki that Blade is not too far off. The other of those 2 unassigned films is the upcoming Fantastic Four reboot. Despite 2 poorly received iterations of the franchise in recent history, one with Fantastic Four and then Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2005 and 2007 respectively, and then a reboot in 2015, Kevin Feige announced in 2019 that the group would be entering the MCU. There's hope that this iteration might break the curse, as it is being led by Jon Watts, the director who has run the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, another franchise that was adapted in the early 2000s and then had a critically panned reboot in the 2010s. Another Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse follow-up movie is going to be an all-female Spider-Man film, which will see Gwen Stacy's Spider-Gwen return at the forefront. Furthermore, the spin-off movie will introduce audiences to Silk and Spider-Woman. While the Into the Spider-Verse spin-off is in development, it's unclear when it will release or if it will even be put into production before the Into the Spider-Verse sequel releases in theaters. Alongside the aforementioned prequel, Kingsman, The Secret Service will also get a direct sequel. Once again set to write, alongside Jane Goldman, and direct, Vaughn has some ideas as to how the trilogy will end, assuming it does end. He previously stated that he had been unofficially prepping Kingsman 3 while working on the first sequel, Kingsman: The Golden Circle. The potentially concluding chapter was originally planned to arrive before The King's Man but's currently without a solid release date. It was revealed, however, that it'll be subtitled, The Blue Blood. Colin Firth and Taron Egerton are expected to reprise their roles. Vaughn also previously revealed that his first choice to play the villain would be Dwayne Johnson, though it'll obviously remain to be seen whether such ideas ever come to fruition. Related. Sony building their own Marvel movie universe, not just a Spider-Verse. A part of Sony Pictures' universe of Marvel characters, Madam Web has been in development since 2019. Cassandra Webb, a mutant and an ally of Spider-Man, is a clairvoyant who is blind and paralyzed and relies on a web-shaped life support system to survive. Sony rehired the writers from Morbius, Matt Sazama, and Burke Sharpless, putting a lot of pressure on the Leto-fronted project to succeed. S.J. Clarkson, who worked on Jessica Jones and The Defenders, is attached to direct, but further progress is halted until they find the right actress for the role. Madam Web will be Sony Pictures' first Marvel property adaptation with a female lead. First announced to be under consideration by Sony in 2018, Jackpot was revealed in 2020 to have been fully under development since that time. Mark Guggenheim, who worked on the original comic books as well as TV shows like Supergirl and Arrow and movies like Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters and Green Lantern, is working on the screenplay. Jackpot is a moniker used by 2 people in the Marvel Comics universe. First to use the title was Sarah Arrett, who is given superpowers when exposed to a gene therapy experiment from an Oscorp subsidiary. Later, Alana Jobson buys the title from Arrett and uses enhancement drugs to mimic her powers before becoming an ally of Spider-Man. While its development has had a question mark over it for some time, Sony still seems to be also planning on making a Sinister Six movie in the future, with many of their currently planned films building towards that. There are likely more Marvel movies in development that will be released at a later date, but, for now, fans have a lot to look forward to.